Our Wyopreps small school fan voted game of the week takes us to Class 1A 6-man. It was a narrow vote, but it was a big matchup that's going on in Carbon County on Saturday afternoon. You've got top-ranked Little Snake River going on the road to fourth-ranked Encampment to face the Tigers, visiting with Little Snake head coach Jack Cobb. And I haven't talked to you in a few weeks, so I guess I'll start with, how do you feel with where you're at right now, Jack?
You know, we feel good. I mean, the boys have been playing hard. We've had some injuries, which, kind of affects you a little bit. But like I've always said about injuries, as long as you don't lose, one or two of the very key players, what I love to see about that is what kids step up and fit them positions. And we've seen that the last couple of weeks. And so that's, you hate to lose players anytime, but when you do, you just want them other kids to step up, and we've had that happen. And so we're excited, to see what they can do and what they can provide us, and give them an opportunity to step in there. So
it's hard to believe, but we're winding down the regular season with this encampment game. You only have 2 games left. Is that kind of difficult to believe, and the playoffs are just around the corner?
It is, and we always talk about that, as a team, and especially with these seniors, we always tell them, your senior year comes before you know it. Freshman, it drags on, and we always tell them, you're going to be a senior before you know it. And then when you get into that season, especially seems like when you have a good year, it goes even faster. You want them games to last, and you want to keep playing because you got a good team. And so it is hard to believe that we're down to the stretch, and still got a couple key conference games ahead of us that are going to be big for us. But yeah, it's flying by, and I tell the boys to savor every moment you have together, because I always say these are the best times of your lives. So,
when we talk about some of the key players. Canadice plays well, Hadley plays well. Are there some guys that have maybe surprised you or the staff, or maybe stepped into a different role this year that you've been really enjoying and seeing how they played this year, that aren't maybe your star guys?
Yeah. Starts at the quarterback with Zane Matheson.
Right.
I mean, he's just a year older. He's a junior this year, sophomore last year. When Hadley went down in week 2 last year against Encampment, he had to step in as a sophomore, and we asked a lot of him, and, he had a good year, but we've just seen a lot of growth in him. Had a great summer camp, and he's done exactly what we've asked him to do. He's turned around and became a safety on defense because he wanted to be more active and more involved in just being a quarterback. And so we found more positions for him to be involved, and he's just grown into, just a good athlete. He's going to be a great basketball player for us, and just a good kid overall. Isaiah Scalberg, he's kind of our center, and he's more capable of doing a lot more than being a center, which isn't saying they don't do much in 6-man, because they do. But he could be playing fullback for us. He could be an end for us, but he just is so reliable at the center position that he just kind of fits that position. Bridger Cousins is a kid that stepped up. Last week, we had Jaden Thomas step in because we had an injury, and he did a great job against Green River and against Hewlett. And, so I mean, yeah, you get them other pieces. Seth Maxim, he don't get no recognition, but my God, that kid's a football player. He just, unfortunately for him, he has Hadley and Canadice ahead of him. I mean, that's just unfortunately for him, and he's going to have to wait his time. And next year he'll be a senior and have his time to shine. But, so yeah, it is fun to, have players like that, they don't get the limelight, but boy, they are key to our team.
Well, let's talk about this game. It's a huge one against Encampment. The type of style that they play. Do you like games like this in the middle of the year to kind of test your team?
Oh, we definitely. I mean, we need this game. I mean, honestly, we've had Dubois was a great game for us. I mean, that was a big test, which we knew it would be. And it was. And then we've had a couple of games that we've, just kind of took care of business, I call it. And now we need another wake-up call type of game that just really makes us dial in and really get the fundamentals of football, that the little details that you have to do. And so I'm excited about this game. it's Encampment, in-county rival. We know the people over there, the two same communities. We just happen to have a mountain between us. And, their style of football is physical, no different than last year. I mean, they have one of the top tailbacks in the state, not just at 6-man level. I mean, this kid would be playing, Craig would be playing for any team in the state. And so, you got your work cut out for you when you play against Encampment. And, they're going to come out and be physical and probably have a little finesse too here and there, because they did that against Du Bois and brought some different things to the offense that they hadn't shown before. But it's just going to be a good physical type of game, and both teams know how important this game is. It's a huge, huge game for both teams.
Obviously, each team's a little different than you last played, which was the state championship game. But, is it just about tendencies that you kind of, relate to your kids in terms of what to look for in terms of what you're expecting from Encampment Saturday?
You do to a point, but it's still 6-man football, and 6-man football it can be unpredictable. And, so you have your tendencies, but, in a week, you can change a lot of your tendencies in 6-man. Really, I mean, you may not have all the details figured out, but you can get a little different in your dynamics of what you do. And if you got good athletes, it's more flexible than 11-man. I would think that way. You're working in space a lot more. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Encampment comes out and, does some different, formations and different things than, what we saw him last time in the championship game. And, it's still going to come down to you got to block, and you got to tackle, and you got to play your position, and all the little things that you got to do in any type of football. Doesn't matter if it's 6-man, 11-man, or 9-man. So it's a challenge, and they bring some talent with that challenge.
Is this the biggest team that you will play this year, and just in terms of their physicality and size? I mean, because Craig's not a small guy.
Yeah, Craig's not a small, and he's fast. I mean, he's athletic. He's just not a 220-pound kid. He is an athletic, hard running, likes contact type of tailback. I mean, he's different than like a Wyatt Tremblay. Wyatt is so quick and athletic, and then Craig he'll run you over. So you got to get prepared for that. And like I said, I think they'll probably do things to keep us honest and try to keep us off of him a little bit. And we're just going to have to tackle well. If you don't tackle well against Encampment, they're just going to power you. No different than last year.
Well, Jack, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are talking about this big test, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Okay, sounds like you're going to be there then.
Yeah, I will be there, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a nice day, and like I said, just a county rival right over the mountain, and so it'll be a fun atmosphere and fun one for the kids and the fans and both towns. So,
well, hey, thanks for the time. I wish you best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks, David.
We continue the conversation with the fan-voted Wyopreps Small School Game of the Week. It is a battle in 6-man between top-ranked Little Snake River and the host team, the 4th-ranked Encampment Tigers. And I talked with this guy last week. It's Encampment head coach Kegan Willford. And thanks again for your time last week. Boy, what in the world did you guys do to KC? My goodness, you must have came out and played pretty well, Kegan.
Yeah, we, ever since our loss from Du Bois, we kind of as a team thought we really had to kind of come together and refocus on, what our goals were, what we really needed to work on to be, more successful against the better teams in the state. And so, it was kind of a big test for us to come out and, against an undefeated team on the road. It was during their homecoming, so it was kind of a hostile environment. And so we performed really, really well. I was pleased with our performance.
Now you turn it around, you get to the top dogs kind of coming to your house. Do you relish games like this, and do your kids get up for games like this, particularly when it is a county rivalry?
Yeah, you kind of hit it on the head right there. I mean, anytime you can play an in-county rivalry, we obviously met in the state championship last year. There's kind of a rivalry in other sporting events as well between these two schools. Just I think the closeness of the communities, just how similar we are, built in the communities as well, both ranching, that kind of stuff. these kids all know each other, through sports, through fair, through 4-H. And so, they always want to, kind of compete and beat each other. But it's funny because, they're always friends off the field and get along with each other. So, but anyway.
Do you address a big matchup like this with your team at any point in the week, or do you just kind of say, hey, this is just another game, guys?
Yeah, we kind of go with both approaches. We do kind of talk about being, a bigger conference game because it is a conference game, but I think that you don't have to really say it as much into practice. I think with the tradition and the history between these two schools, I think the kids all just kind of know already going into it that, this is Snake River week, and, we better up our game for sure.
You mentioned the history between the two schools, but football-wise, this is still pretty new. So is this something different for these guys?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think instead, really whether it's basketball, football, track, volleyball, it just seems like, it's just it's a school that you want to go out and, you want to compete against, hopefully to the best of your ability every time. And so, it is a newer, kind of a rivalry with the football, but I think in the end of the day, it's still kind of the same idea.
Gotcha. We've talked about Quaid before and just what an outstanding player he is. Are there some other guys that, people might need to be kind of paying attention to that are really starting to come on for you? Because I know you mentioned that some young guys have grown up here in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I can start with, a lot of different athletes out there that have had a good season. One of my seniors, Briston Sifford, he's really stepped it up this year. He's kind of been in the shadow sometimes of some of the older kids in the past, but, right now he's our current leader in defensive points. He's our current receiving leader as well. And he's also kind of just one of our leaders of like setting the tone, type of player. He's a really tough-nosed kind of kid and kind of a no-nonsense kid too. So you really like to see that at practice and then on the football field. So, he's been really tough this year. Our other returning All-State player this year, Ryan Miller, he's fantastic, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then again, he doesn't see a lot of stats on the offensive side, but, his blocking is really, really, what kind of gets our running game going a lot of times too. So, another big player there. And then another player, we can mention this year, this kind of really emerged is Kegan Pickett. He plays running back and then sometimes end linebacker all over the field on defense. And, he's another kid that, after last year's season wanted to get in the weight room. So he spent a lot of time in the summer, went to some camps. And so he's very, very much improved. And, he's a big kid, about 6'1", 180 pounds. And so, he likes to smack people too. So, yeah, those are some of our early kind of leaders and, kind of stands out on our football team.
Well, let's talk about the big matchup that lies ahead. What do you see in this challenge with Coach Cobb's squad?
Yeah, obviously it's a big matchup for us. We're still kind of looking to use it as a measuring stick, to see where, right. Obviously they're kind of the standard right now for six-man football in Wyoming. And, coming off of a state championship from last year, an undefeated season, they have quite the winning streak going on right now as well. And, with Coach Cobb's squads, they're always going to be well coached and they're going to be well prepared. His teams don't make a lot of mistakes, and so they really never beat themselves. So that's something that you really have to bring your A game for. Otherwise, they're going to, kind of trample you.
I know it's only six-man football and there's only six guys on one side of the field, but how tough is it considering the number of weapons that they do have to go to it, and they can hurt you in a number of different ways too? They
can, and you can't just plan like a game plan for one person because they do have so much talent across the board, and it's not even their first six. They go really, really deep as well, and they have other guys that'll check into the game, and if you don't kind of respect what they do, they're going to hurt you as well. So it can be really, really tough to cover. So
it's interesting. I was talking with Coach Cobb, and he said, maybe in six-man, you can kind of really tweak and adjust your game plan from week to week more so than maybe in like 11-man football. So is this a week where you try and do something different or maybe add a few things that you haven't done so far this season to maybe try and catch a veteran team like Snake by surprise a little bit, Kegan?
Yeah, anytime you have, a team like this, like I said, with all these veterans, all the playing time they've seen, the experience they've seen, you definitely want to try to find any kind of weakness, potentially any way to exploit it. And like I said, with their depth, with their talent, it's going to be difficult to do so. But yeah, we definitely have looked to maybe add a few things in this week that we might be able to, maybe like I said, catch them off guard on. But who knows in the end?
still want to kind of stay with your bread and butter, which is that power running game. But obviously, I think you want to catch them by surprise here and there. So what will it take for your team to really compete and show you something this Saturday?
Yeah, it starts out with just playing as close to as we can mistake-free football. Like I said, the penalties have been kind of an issue, but we've been a lot better, like I said, over the last month and that. And then, not turning the football over. I mean, that's a team that you just can't do that against because, they're going to capitalize on it. And, you're only going to get so many opportunities before they're, 2 or 3 touchdowns ahead of you. So you want to kind of keep pace, hopefully, as much as possible. And then, like you talked about before, we're still going to stick with our bread and butter, our physicality. That's kind of like what our brand is, we feel like. And, we're going to kind of rely on that a lot. And just hoping in the end, we talk a lot about executing the game plan, just execution in general on all, 3 phases of the game. And so we're kind of hoping to, hope we can execute really well on Saturday.
Speaking of that third phase, is this a game where I see a lot of 6-man teams, no matter what the down and no matter what the distance is, they like to go for it on 4th down. Is this one where maybe you find yourself punting and playing a little more field position if you can get away with it?
Yeah, you just never know. Again, like I said, not a lot of teams like to do the punt. We haven't punted yet this season, and we're it's not that we're trying to take a pride in doing that. It's just we felt like we've always had potential to convert on 4th down and however many yards it would be. But yeah, anytime you go up against a big team like this, you don't want to give their offense an easy opportunity, a short field to hopefully put a score on the board. So if we feel the need and we just don't think we have a really good shot at converting, we'll definitely look to try to hopefully flip the field position a little bit and punt the ball away.
Well, I hope that you get a great turnout, man. This could be a heck of a matchup. Could be the first of a couple like you guys had last year. I know last year's was over in bags in the regular season. But when you look at this, are you just hoping that it's everybody shut the lights off and show up at Encampment School Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, we're hoping so. And I mean, I think, because the pass is still open right now, I would imagine a lot of people from Snake River will be there, and then I know a lot of people from Encampment are ready to see this game too. So, well, we're excited and hoping we can get as big of a turnout as possible.
Well, we will see you on Saturday afternoon. I will be there as promised, and hey, good luck. I appreciate the time again, Kegan.
Yeah, thanks, David. I appreciate it.